Hello, boys and girls. This is your old friend RJ City, and I am back, much to my own chagrin, with yet another bedtime story. And this one you may be familiar with. It's called The Lion King. It's based on the popular movie, which is based on the popular movie. Which is actually based on the plot of Hamlet. I don't know if you realize that The Lion King completely ripped off Hamlet. You'll know when you get in high school and they start to talk about Hamlet, you got to read these pages and pages of Shakespeare, and you're like, are you kidding me? This is The Lion King. Anyway, this is a special kind of book. It's an electronic storybook, also known as a golden sight and sound book. They have these corresponding buttons, and when I hit them, they're going to make these sounds. And, if you like listening to a movie, this is the book for you. So let us begin with the story of The Lion King. Here we go. This book belongs to nobody because, really reading should be for everyone. On an African plain, the animals were gathering. Antelope and zebras, rhinos and elephants, monkeys and brightly colored birds, all made their way to Pride Rock, the highest point for miles around. There the animals watched as Mufasa, the Lion King, mounted the rock. You see this? See him mounting? Not his wife, the rock. Beside him was his wife, Sarabi, carrying their newborn cub, Simba, voiced by Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Rafiki, a baboon of great wisdom and mystery, approached, lifted Simba toward the sky, and proclaimed him the future king of the land. The animals cheered, but Mufasa's jealous brother, Scar, was not happy. Scar's evil plans would soon change Simba's life forever, right? You got it? Okay. When Simba was old enough to understand, Mufasa took him to the top of Pride Rock. And now, see, it has the rock thing, so I find it here, and everything the light touches is our kingdom, the Lion King said, and one day it will be yours. Simba happily purred. He pointed to a dark area in the distance. What about that shadowy place? He asked his father. You must never go there, Simba, Mufasa replied. Later, Simba asked, that's a real abridged version of what he says in the movie. Later, Simba asked his uncle Scar about the dark land. Scar told Simba that only the bravest lions ventured there. An elephant graveyard is no place for a future king, Scar growled. It's more of a cackle. Just as Scar hoped, his words made Simba curious. That very day, the cub went to see his friend Nala. He told her about the elephant graveyard, and the two of them set out for it at once. Leaping, it's a little too comical, leaping from rock to rock along the way, follow the stars and turn the page. Before they'd gone very far, Simba and Nala heard a familiar squawk. It was Zazu, the Lion King's most trusted advisor. You see him? You see him there? You see him? Sarabi had sent him to watch over the cubs. When Zazu realized they had entered the elephant graveyard, he let out a louder squawk. It's the exact same volume. Simba and Nala ignored him. Purring, they leaped in and out of the elephant bone, staying a step ahead of the bird. Suddenly, eerie cackling, actually one of them is voiced by Whoopi Goldberg, filled the graveyard. Out stepped three hyenas, Shenzi, Banzai, and Ed. They chased Zazu and the lion cubs around the graveyard, trapping them in an elephant rib cage. I tell you something, I will tell you, when your elephant passes away, you always clean up the bones for reasons like this. The hyenas licked their lips and cackled. Again, I guess. Follow the stars and turn the page. I say, look at that. Look at that, having fun. Father and son reunion. The hyenas circled the cubs. Suddenly, with a loud roar, Mufasa leaped down in front of them. Don't you ever come near my son again, he warned. The hyenas ran off yipping. And amazingly, there's no yipping button. I would have loved to hear some good old-fashioned yipping. Later, Mufasa took Simba to Pride Rock, back to where we all began. You deliberately disobeyed me, the Lion King said angrily. I was just trying to be brave like you, Simba replied. I'm only brave when I have to be, said Mufasa. Otherwise, he's playing baseball with kids in their backyard with the big dog. That's a reference you'll get if you're familiar with James Earl Jones' IMDb. Softening, he hugged the cub. Today, I was afraid that I might lose you. Simba purred and nuzzled against his father. Will we always be together, he asked. Mufasa pointed to the night sky. The great kings of the past looked down on us from the stars. They will always be there to guide you, and so will I. And now I gotta press the stars again. We just heard it. Follow the stars and turn the page. Ooh, a lot's going on here. In another part of the land, Scar approached the hyenas. I practically gift-wrapped those cubs for you, and you couldn't even dispose of them, Scar said with a low, evil growl, which, as we've determined, sounds like a laugh, really. Well, they weren't exactly alone, Scar, said the nervous hyenas, cackling. What do you expect us to do? Kill Mufasa? Precisely, Scar growled. The next day, Scar took Simba down into a great gorge, just hanging out near the gorge. Now, you stay here on this... Why would Mufasa how does this happen? This is truly bad parenting. Now, you stay here on this rock, he told the cub. Your father has a marvelous surprise for you. Scar leaped up and up until he reached the edge of the gorge. Then he signaled the hyenas, cackling. Where are we? Oh, yes. They began chasing a herd of wildebeest right towards Simba. Oh, stuff is going down, boys and girls. Follow the stars and turn the page. Ooh, this is the old stampede. You remember this? Dun, 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 dun. See, I can make my own sounds, too. Not far away, Zazu squawked. He turned to Mufasa, saying, the herd is on the move, sire. Just then, Scar came running up, shouting, Stampede! Simba's down there! Mufasa roared. Ooh, majestic. And took off into the canyon. He found Simba clinging to a tree branch, just inches above the thundering herd. Mufasa leaped and plucked his son off the branch. Then, fighting his way back through the animals, he carried the cub to safety. But at the very last moment, the powerful lion was pulled back down under the animal's hooves. With one last mighty roar, Mufasa climbed to a cliff high above the herd. There, Scar was waiting for him. He growled, not really a growl, and pushed Mufasa to his death. Oh, forgot about that part. Follow the stars and turn the page. Speaking of stars, this is a good plug for Star Card, Merv Griffin's old casino and resort. Simba had not seen Scar push his father, but when the dust settled, he saw Mufasa lying far below. With great leaps, the cub raced into the canyon. If it weren't for you, Mufasa would still be alive, Scar said, coming up behind Simba. I didn't mean to do it, Simba sobbed. What'll I do? Run, Simba. Run away and never return, Scar growled. Simba turned and fled. Scar ordered the hyenas to follow the lion they'll even follow the lion cub and kill him. But Simba escaped with a giant leap. The hyenas cackled and returned to Scar, telling him that Simba was dead. There's a lot of death in this book. Scar climbed to the top of Pride Rock. Mufasa gave his life to save Simba, he told the animals, but both were lost. It is with a heavy heart that I assume the throne. You see, it was a ruse. He plotted this whole thing, Scar, so he could become the king. Pay attention, because in Hamlet, it makes a lot more sense. From rock to rock, Simba leaped. He ran as far away as he could. Then, with an exhausted purr, nobody purrs out of exhaustion. Cats just purr when they're happy. He fell to his knees and fainted. Just then, a small meerkat rode into view on the back of a warthog. The two animals carried Simba to the shade, where he awoke. The new arrivals introduced themselves as Timon, the meerkat. Sorry, my phone froze. My phone froze? Dear Lord, this is a mess. And Pumbaa, the warthog. Pumbaa. Simba also introduced himself but told him nothing of his home near Pride Rock. All he would say is that he'd done something awful but couldn't talk about it. Good, Timon replied. We don't want to hear about it. He and Pumbaa laughed. It doesn't sound like a laugh at all. They told Simba just to take life one day at a time. No worries. Hakuna Matata, they laughed, and I gotta hit this button again. Voiced by the wonderful Nathan Lane. Follow the stars and turn the page. Thank you. So Simba began a new life. With Timon and Pumbaa, he spent many hours singing and laughing. But as Simba grew, it became more difficult to forget the past. At night, looking up at the stars, he often wondered if life was more than just having fun. Far across the mountains, the wise old baboon Rafiki sensed something. Simba was alive. Rafiki chuckled as he drew a picture of Simba on the cave wall and chanted. With another chant, he smiled and said, "It is time." The next day, Timon and Pumbaa went for a stroll in the jungle. Suddenly, a lioness leaped in front of them. When Simba appeared, the two lions fought until the lioness flipped Simba on his back. The two lions stared at each other. "Nala," Simba exclaimed. It was Simba's old friend. He's grown up, and he has a little love interest. "Hello." Follow the stars and turn the page. Nala couldn't believe her eyes. She hugged Simba and purred, which sounds a lot like his purr. Then she said that she'd left home because life was so bad under Scar's rule. Nala begged Simba to return and take his rightful place as the king. "I'm not the king," Simba shouted. Then he admitted, "Well, maybe I was gonna be, but I'm not going back." That night, Rafiki appeared, chanting. Simba didn't remember the baboon, but Rafiki knew him. "You're Mufasa's boy," the old baboon said, and began to chant. "Oh, we got it." Rafiki took Simba to a clearing in the jungle. The two gazed up at the night sky. Suddenly, Simba heard his father's voice. "You are my son and the only one true king." Mufasa roared and was gone. Simba knew he had to go back, and when Nala, Timon, and Pumbaa discovered he had gone, they followed. Speaking of follow the stars and turn the page. Life was bleak back at Pride Rock. Scar's greed had destroyed the land. Yeah, he was taking too much taxes from everybody. And under his harsh rule, the lions lived only to serve him and the hyenas. Then one day, a lion approached. "Mufasa?" Scar gasped. Zazu, now Scar's prisoner, squawked. But it wasn't Mufasa, obviously. Simba had returned. He looks a lot like his father. It's lion genetics. "Step down, Scar," Simba roared. "But they think I'm king." Scar smiled as the hyenas gathered behind him, cackling. Look at all the dramatic tension. The storylines are coming together. Scar forced Simba towards the cliff. "That's the way your father looked before I killed him," Scar growled. Suddenly enraged, Simba jumped at Scar. Nala and the other lionesses joined the fight. The hyenas tried to help Scar, but Pumbaa, with Timon clinging to his neck, came charging up. Sensing defeat, the hyenas ran away. Follow the stars and turn the... We're almost done. Stay with me. Dear Lord. As the hyenas fled, Scar slipped away to the top of Pride Rock. Simba followed him there and pinned him down at the rock's edge. "Please, no," begged Scar. "You have won. You are king." Simba let him up. With a snarl, Scar attacked once more. Simba roared and sent his evil uncle hurtling off the cliff. Below, the hyenas appeared, cackling, and then turned on Scar. So is Scar dead? Did we get official word on that? Several months later, the animals gathered again at Pride Rock. They watched Simba, the Lion King, mount the rock with his wife, Nala, and their new cub. See how the cycle continues? With Timon, Pumbaa, and Zazu watching, Rafiki chanted, which we're all familiar with, blessing the tiny lion, and lifted him high so that all could see the future king of the land. Look at this. It's similar to how Gaston died, if you've ever seen Beauty and the Beast. Follow the stars and turn the page. Look, and that's them all together. And here, as a dramatic conclusion, is the instruction manual and the battery operation directions for the sound. Quite an electronic marvel. Well, that was The Lion King, the book. And to be quite honest, it felt a lot longer than both movies put together. But before we go, I haven't forgotten. It's time for your bedtime lullaby. Two, three, four. Good night.
Guests of the RJ City Show, subscribe to his channel, follow him on social media, and buy his t-shirts at prowrestlingtees.com/RJ City.